Alrighty, welcome to our third NHL fantasy happy hour. We're trying on something a little bit different, doing it the night before. We have accurate prices this time. Um, we got how many games? 5 or 6?
It was
Eight.
eight. Yeah, I
Eight,
was
yeah.
gonna say eight.
And a bunch of them are later games too. So I think there's only 1 or 2 at 5 East or 5 Mountain Time. So 7 Eastern, and the rest are 8, 9, 10.
Yep.
Um, how you liking the NHL so far, DFS turn?
I've been enjoying it. I haven't won anything big, but I haven't lost anything big, so that's always a positive. I've been breaking even most nights. It's exciting this year. You're seeing these what do you call them, back to back in division games where you'll see a 5-0 one way to a 5-0 the other way, or the Oilers Vancouver series was kind of like 5-2 and then 5-0. So it's really exciting to watch. Lots of goals, and you got to watch these bounce back lines in this back to back night hockey. Watching McKinnon and them kind of put up a goose egg and then come back with an 8-goal domination of St. Louis. You know, you're seeing this interdivision rivalries just swing really hard, but it makes DFS predictions a little tougher, but it's fun. It's fun.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, in that case, then let's just jump into it. What do you got for some top plays of the night for tomorrow night?
I'm heading down south from you, and I'm going to a Calgary Flame here. Matthew Tkachuk. His floor is just good in DFS. He's had 5 shots per game both games this season. They get Vancouver, not a real tough matchup right now. He's on the top power play, and they're actually considered line one here. He's averaging just shy of 20 minutes of ice time per game, and of course, when you get a guy who's going to hit that 5-shot bonus, it benefits you even if they don't score. So, floor of 10 points here with him at 6,900. And then I go to a D-man here, and I think Alex Pietrangelo, 6,700 for the Vegas Knights. They're 2-0, and they're looking pretty dominant. They get Arizona, not a tough matchup again. Again, his floor is super high. He's hit the shot block bonus both games so far. I think he has 8 shot blocks on the year. He plays on the top power play. He's got a couple assists so far. If he gets a point, it's just a bonus because he shoots at least 3 times, and he's getting that shot block bonus almost every time. And if you look at Vegas from a high danger chances, they're 21 high danger chances for and 12 against. So you're going to see a good chance of him scoring or getting a point on that power play. So those are my 2 kind of top plays on the slate that I saw.
Perfect. I'm bringing one for the top play here tonight, or I guess tomorrow, and I'm going Tomas Hertl, priced at 6,600. Playing St. Louis, who just got beat up 8-0 against the Avs. I'm personally not a fan of St. Louis. They have some pretty cheap players too. Ryan O'Reilly is, I think, 5,600, which is pretty valuable. I don't know if you're going to talk about him or not. I don't have him, but I just don't think St. Louis is as good as they were when they won the cup. Like, I feel like they had their chance and they're just going to slowly decline from here. I'm not a big fan of Binnington. And although the Sharks are going to suck and they're not going to have a great year, I feel like Hertl and Timo Meier might be the glimmering hope of the nice, or the shiny piece of gold in a big pile of shit or something like that.
There you go.
But yeah, Hertl, he gets second line with Kane and a John Leonard, who I have no idea who that is. And then also time on power play 1. He gets both 3 shots. He's got 3 shots both games. Last game, though, lit it up, and now DraftKings now has the 10-game log up for this year. So there's 2 or 3, and 21.3 fantasy points per game, which will go down, obviously. But Hertl to me is 15 points per game at least. If he's playing at top level there. But yeah, I'll dive into my value play of the night. I'm going over to Anaheim, just south a little bit, to Max Comtois.
Nice.
They're playing the Wild, which I feel like the Wild are a decent team. I feel like they'll do average this year, like they always do. They never do good. They never do bad. But Max Comtois playing on the third line there. Another like glimmer of hope in a bad team. It's his first year. We talked about him in our division preview videos, or I did anyways. He's averaging 15.8 fantasy points per game over the first few. Playing on that third line with Sam Steele and Terry Troy, whatever his name is. He had a couple of goals the first game. I believe he had a goal, maybe not a goal, and assist the next game. Looking pretty good though, and he's priced at $3,800. So nice little play there again against a big part of this. They're playing Minnesota. I feel like Minnesota is going to win a lot of higher scoring games. They do have a good decor in like Spurgeon and Dumba and Suter and stuff, but a lot of them are quite older, and I feel like they're not going to do too much out of the blue here and shut down and play that shutdown game, kind of like the Islanders do. But yeah, what do you think of for value play here?
I like that pick. He's one of the first guys I looked at. I think he has 3 goals in his first 2 games here, and Minnesota gave up 5 to LA there the other night. So I mean, not going to be a great defense. I don't believe they do have a good core, but they're never great. I went to a guy we talked about in our pre-videos too in Carolina, Martin Necas. He's 3,500, I think I wrote down here. They get Nashville. Nashville is 2-0, shockingly. I didn't like Nashville coming into the season, but they are playing decent. They are still giving up goals. I think they've given up 2 or 3 in their first 2. So he plays on O-line too, and he's on power play too, but he shoots quite a bit. He's 3 shots per game thus far, and he's been blocking a shot per game. Good floor for 3,500. You just need him to get about 3,300. Got to get him about 10, 12 points out of him, and that's definitely sustainable with his shots and maybe an assist. So that's where I went there with an offensive guy. I went to a defensive guy, actually. I went to San Jose as well, Mario Ferraro. He's playing up with Burns on DL2, 23 and 22 minutes per game in the last 2 games. Like, that's a lot of minutes for a guy at 3,400. And he's on power play too. He's their headman guy on power play too. So when you can get a guy that cheap that's playing power play too, and he's playing with Burns in the highest minute line there in San Jose on the back end, that's awesome. So he also has a really good floor of shots and block shots. So I think he had 2, and then he comes close to getting the bonus in block shots, but he's missed it both times. So, I mean, good average, good guy to have at a value play for this slate. I'll move it over to between the pipes, look at a goalie here, and I'm playing against a team that I think is probably one of the best teams in the kind of right now, and that's Kemper and Ranta for Arizona, taking one of those 2 goalies. I don't know who's going to start. They haven't announced. I think it's Kemper's turn though, so I would imagine it's Kemper. He's only 6,900. And one thing I learned from the first couple slates here is with the new goalie scoring, you don't necessarily need the win, because some of these goalies are only seeing about 20 saves, but they're getting the win. Whereas these guys like Thomas Greiss on night 1 got 38 shots playing Carolina, and he still put up more points than a lot of the winning goalies in a loss. So Vegas shoots a pile, and so that gives your goalie a really good floor here. He should see 30 or more shots probably in this game, as long as they don't blow them out. It should be a really good goalie pick and a good floor. They're still at 914 save percentage. Both these goalies are pretty close in that range. So I think that's just a good way to kind of save yourself some money at goalie and still get enough with even a possible loss.
I'm thinking the same way. I'm going against a team you're going again, or you have going for some goals here, and I'm going over to UC Saros if he's starting. They played the Blue Jackets the other night, who I thought would be a little bit more, offensive this year. They're kind of disappointing a little bit, but he stopped 42 of 44 shots. He's 2-0, 959 save percentage, and 1.5 goals against so far. I mean, we are 2 games in, but he has been taking over that spot. We talked about him again in our preview, but he'll be playing probably a lot more than Rene. Even though I think Carolina could put up, 3-4 goals, if he's going to be facing over 40 shots, just like you said, it's still worth the risk, right? Same kind of situation as Greiss there. One thing I've noticed, is like the goalie it's almost a lot more like you don't have to rely on it as much. Like before, you could get if you got a shutout and a win, you were laughing and that was shooting you up the standings, but now it's not so much. But yeah, we don't have the expected starters out yet. It's a little too soon. But I'd expect Saros to start, being that they are 2-0 and he's looking pretty good so far. I'll move over to stacks of the night. I got 2 here. First one's no surprise, and it's probably gonna be the same as you, McDavid and Nuge. Looking for another bounce back game from the Oilers. They tend to do this, just lay up a big, terrible game and then come back and, outpower on offense the team and play a nice game. So they play the Canadians again tomorrow. Canadians have looked pretty good though. But still, I mean, they've been when we saw against the Leafs, they let in 5 goals, and They still let in 3, I think, against the Oilers the other night. It'll be interesting, though. Keep an eye on Oilers' goaltending situation as well, but that does not really matter when you're picking the stack. I still think McDavid and Nuge. You could also go, if depending on your salary cap, McDavid and Archibald, as he's playing up on the first line there. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a safe one. But I'll go down to my second one here. This one's a winger combo, just because we don't know, and it's Konechny and Lindblom. Couturier is supposed to be out for 2 weeks or so. So I don't know who's coming up on center. So depending if Kevin Hayes moves up or if they move someone else up, keep an eye on that. That could be a good one to stack. But Konechny's priced pretty cheap. I mean, he put up 41 fantasy points with his hat trick the other night, averaging 25. Still put up 10 when he didn't score the first game. And they're playing Buffalo, who, I mean, I was expecting Buffalo to kind of take a step, and so far they kind of look like they're not very great either. I mean, we'll let them play together a little bit more, but I still think Buffalo does not really have defense, and their goaltending situation is still a big yikes. So I'm leaning that way on that Philly line. You could also pull in Philly too as well if Hayes is staying there, and pick one of the wingers, and you'd be fine. What are you thinking for stacks? So.
Yeah, I actually had Philly one on here as well. That it's projected on DK at least that Morgan Frost is going to come up and play that.
And that's a value pick because he's 25 or 2,600.
Min price, yeah, he's 2,500. So that line becomes 11,800 to full stack. So I mean that's super cheap. So I kind of put it here as a price saving stack, but you kind of touched on most of it. But one of the stacks I like the most is actually stacking up Calgary 1 or Calgary power play 1. This line's been kind of the lead line now, Lindholm and Tkachuk with Anderson on D. So they're kind of manning that power play. Tkachuk, like I already talked about, great for shot value. Lindholm's had 2 good games. I mean, 10 or more points in both. And then Anderson's seeing a ton of work here. He's manning that top power play and he's shooting a ton, blocking enough shots for the bonus in one of his 2 games. So this stack I just think is high value in a matchup with Toronto. Right? Am I thinking right?
No.
Right. Oh, Vancouver. Sorry, yeah. Not Toronto. Speaking of my next stack, one of my favorite stacks on the slate, Winnipeg 1 versus Toronto. Toronto has been susceptible to goals this season. It's been kind of a noticeable occurrence the last few seasons, but they tend to get into shootouts and the concentration in it based on there's some injury news riding around Winnipeg that Laine might not play. There's a few other guys that might not play, but at least right now it looks like it's Scheifele, Wheeler, and Ehlers projected on that top line. That is a production top line. Most of that will correlate on power plays. They are kind of mix and matching their power plays this year, so they aren't flowing, at least on daily faceoff right now. But I just love that into Toronto. I mean, what do you think of the other side? What do you think of Toronto in this game?
I mean, I feel like you're always safe having Austin Matthews in a stack, right? Yeah. Especially against the Jets. The Jets and Leafs have tended to, I mean, the Leafs and everyone have tended to shoot out, but particularly the Jets and Leafs have had some shootouts the past few years. It's looking like Matthews and Marner are really heating up. I don't like taking Jumbo, even though he scored. I feel like that's always a risk and he could be dropped at any minute. I'd lean more so for more consistency, maybe down to that second one of William Nylander and John Tavares. I like that in this lineup. I feel like Winnipeg is good. Obviously they're good, but I feel like they also have some defensive problems. I do like Neil Pionk though. You could stack him probably with some of Winnipeg 1 and hope on the power play you get a little bit of action because Leafs power play or Leafs penalty kill has been, okay, but I mean, we're still generally it's not very good, right?
Yeah. Kind of looking at the Leafs, it's like you got to hit the right line. And the first 2 games it was line 2, and then the last game there it was line 1. So they've been tough to predict, kind of like I guess some of the other teams so far this season. But I'll jump over to the happy hour special, the creme de la creme. And I went to a guy we've already touched on, Travis Konechny. I want to chase the heat while it's still there. When you're playing on a top line with 2 guys that are relatively unknown, he is the goal scorer on that line. He's also manning the half wall on the power play. So great guy to have. Of course, we can talk about his points so far, 5 points through 2 games, 3 shots per game on average, doesn't block a ton of shots, but he's a super cheap line stack here. And I just think that at 5,300, I think he is, which is still too cheap, way too cheap for him on the top line and on the top power play unit. He is the goal scorer here, hat trick already this season. We should expect big things. And they get a pretty easy matchup. And for some reason, I didn't write down the matchup. Who's Philly playing? You know?
Buffalo.
Buffalo. Yeah. Okay. We already touched on that. And so I think that's another easy matchup. And Buffalo was taking a ton of penalties there last game. So if he's going to see that much power play time, great play. But how are we doing over there for the special?
I got 2, and I went to the bottom of the barrel for these ones. I'm going for some cheap ones. Not quite min price, but $100 over min price on both of them. First one, we're rolling back to Edmonton, and we're going with Jake Evans, Montreal fourth line center. Kills penalties, had a shorthanded goal last game. Also, 1 block shot, 4 shots. He is someone who kind of came in towards the end of the year last year and played about, I don't know, I think it was less than 10 games. But just a depth piece. I like the fact that he's on the penalty kill. Yeah, cheap play. With these picks that I'm going with here, if they're kind of like, if you're stacking high and heavy with some of the more expensive guys, you just kind of pick and pray. My next one though, I think is a little bit more reliable here. And I was surprised it's only $2,600, but it's Alex Kerfoot on the Leafs, third line center, also killing penalties. He's playing with Mikheyev and Hyman. I think this line could be a second line in my opinion on most other teams. So this to me is, I think, my value / happy hour special, like top one here. He's got a goal already. He's had a few 20 goal seasons in Colorado. Last year was a little bit shaky, but new scenery. And I think he'll have a good redemption year here. So I just think this one's a little severely underpriced, especially playing the Jets. I give it to the next 3 games for Mikheyev and Kerfoot to have a night where they pop off. So I'm betting it on tomorrow.
That is excitement. That is taking a special. That might be at the local pub that only the locals attend, but it's a special nonetheless.
Yeah. But if you guys are liking these videos, I mean, me and Tarin, looking at our results so far, we've had some great picks compared to our NFL ones because we know hockey a little bit better, and maybe it's because there's a little bit less competition. But yeah, if you like it, give it a like. Tell us who you pick, some of your plays, what your happy hour special will be, and give us a comment. And if you really like it, subscribe. That'd be sweet. Peace.
Let's go.